Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today's Thursday, the 15th of December. Ooh, 10 days from Christmas already. It's 2022. My name is Kerry Holzman, and thank you for joining me. I have for you today a review of an impressively powerful mini PC that you can use for gaming as long as you want to set it to low settings in 1080. Everything from Counter-Strike CSGO to Fortnite, and I think they even showed Cyberpunk running on this thing. But again, ultra low settings at 1080. But I'm going to get to this in a minute. This is still shrink wrapped, so I've yet to experience it firsthand. We're going to do the unboxing live. These videos are unedited, unscripted, and they just show a real process without all the polish and fancy-dancy corrections and things that people quite often make in editing and post-production. I like to keep everything real. So there'll be mistakes and miscommunication and me picking a wrong word. That's just the way life is. We all do that. And, you know, wouldn't it be great if we could have post-production in real life when you awkwardly say something or find yourself in a situation where you picked wrong wording in real life, in a real room full of people that are paying attention. It could be a little nerve-wracking, but you know what? It is what it is. We're all human beings here, and well, except for the bots and the scammers, they're subhuman. But besides those exceptions, that's what I'm trying to do here, is keep everything real and transparent. For example, Beelink sent me this computer. They are not paying me to do this review. They've invited me to their affiliate program, but I'd rather just direct you over to Amazon, where I am an affiliate to Amazon. And if you make a purchase of this or anything else at Amazon using my link in the video notes to take you to Amazon, it doesn't matter what you purchase, I'll make a very small commission. Now, I don't know who you are. I can only see what was purchased on one date, at what date, so I know how much commission I've earned, but I don't know who's making the purchases. It's a great way to support the channel anonymously. There's no difference in cost to you, no difference in shipping. Everything remains the same. I am super impressed with the specs on this machine, so I can't wait to get to it. But first, I was over at Studio A picking up mail, and I had, not only this was waiting for me over at Studio A, but I also had a couple of Christmas cards from loyal viewers arrive in the mail. And I want to just read these aloud to everybody and say thank you to the folks who sent them. This one says, Dear Carey, may you celebrate the spirit of Christmas, which is peace, the gladness of Christmas, which is hope, and the heart of Christmas, which is love. And this is from our good friend, John Jack Wilson. And he signs it. I have to put on my glasses for this one. Jack and Me Too Lady, which is the dog. That's very cool. Thank you, Jack. Thank you so much. And then another one here. This one says, Christmas fills our homes with blessings. And this one says, wishing you heartfelt joys, happy memories, and heavenly blessings for a delightful Christmas and a new year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This is from David Ice and family. He's got a little note written on the side here. It says, hello, Kerry, longtime subscriber from West Virginia. Love your videos. Keep them coming, and happy holidays. Right on. Well, thank you so much. So David Ice and John Jack Wilson, appreciate that. It's very kind of you to go out of your way and do the old school write with a pen, use snail mail, and, you know, that's a lot more involvement and thoughtful than sending an email, or, which, by the way, always appreciated regardless, but this is like above and beyond. So thank you guys so much. And of course, to all of you, I hope you have a very happy holiday season, regardless of what you're celebrating, and of course, a wonderful new year. I'm looking forward to 2023. Just as I said in 2022, we made a lot of changes. I got more changes coming. This computer will be moved back behind me, and I might mess around with my audio a bit more to try and see if I can't make it even better. Mitch Morrison will join me on, is it Saturday? Pretty sure it's Saturday, New Year's Eve, but during the afternoon. And we're not going to do any work. We're not going to have any agenda. Maybe we'll have a couple of beers. Yeah, why not? And we'll just chit chat with you guys and hang out. Now, I realize some of you may be experiencing the new year if you're in a time zone that far ahead of us, and that's all well and good, but it's not my intention to actually celebrate the official new year, but to be a regular broadcast in the afternoon, 1 or 2 o'clock my time, have Mitch back on, and we'll just chit chat and hang out. And if you're looking for something to do New Year's Eve, well, we hope you'll join us. Wilhelm wants to know where he can send a gift card, not a gift card, a holiday card to. Well, obviously I'm not putting the address in the chat room, but if you reach out to me to my email address, I'll provide that to you. But that's basically the Studio A address is where I would have you direct those to. And hello to all of my friends in the chat, all my friends in blue. I'm still trying to fix the membership badges that appear next to the names. You know, when I set up memberships about 7 months ago, I meant to get back to that, and then I forgot. So they're supposed to be round. They're not supposed to be square. I will work on that after this broadcast. I'm going to try and hammer that down so I don't forget again. And thank you guys for the folks that are memberships. I understand there's a way to gift memberships out, but I don't see it available for me. And YouTube will also gift out memberships to people who are active in the chat room. I'm not quite sure how all this works. You guys apparently can gift memberships to other people in the chat, but it doesn't seem like that option's available to me. I have to dig around a little bit. So we want to try and gift out some memberships to people during this festive giving part of the year. And it's like a 1-month membership for free. If you're interested in receiving a 1-month membership for free, leave a comment in the notes below this video when we're done live, because there's no comment section right now when I'm live. That's one way you can tell, at least with my videos, if you're watching a live video or a replay of a live video, is simply the existence of a comment section. So if the option is there to leave a comment, you're watching a replay. If there is no option to leave a comment, then it's a live chat room instead. That's how you know, and it's one way to know you're watching a real live video as it's happening. So yes, again, hello to all my friends in blue and those of you future members of blue. All the blue folks didn't necessarily buy their way to blue. I want to make it clear to new viewers, there's no favoritism here. It's just basically people that show up regularly. They become a familiar name to me, and they've proven to be interactive. Like if you're watching but you don't participate in the chat, I had no idea that you're watching. I get a number of how many people are watching, but I can only see you if you jump in the chat and say hello. Now, if you're jumping in the chat to promote something, without clearing that with me first, that's a big no-no. That is spamming. Just because it's something you care about, it's still spamming. Some people now are starting to use their YouTube handles as a means to promote their political agenda or their morals. And that's running a real fine line with me, because a username is intended to be your username, which you want to be called. It's not intended for you to send a message to people about your political beliefs. My audience is not a platform for you to preach to. That's for me to preach to. So if you would please use a handle, use a name, but the minute you start promoting your politics or your religion, it's basically what all of the sites that are spammers and bots, it's what they do to promote their adult content. And so to see individual users doing that now, to me, it's riding a really fine line. So, well, I really encourage everybody to participate in the chat. What I don't want you to do is to use my chat room as a platform for you to manipulate your username to promote your religion or your political beliefs. That will get you banned. I'm telling you right now, because once again, you're spamming my chat room. Whether you agree with that or not, that's what it is. It's no different than the porn sites that come in here and do that. You're doing the same thing, and I really want this to be a sincere conversation among us, just no differently than if you were hanging out here in person. So I'm just seeing a trend of this happening more and more, and it's riding a real fine line with me. Okay, what else? You see Mats Olof joins us. Always good to see you, Mats Olof and Siegfried Samano. Mortant, hello Mortant, and Andy Kane, and Chris Johnson, BH Ringer. There's our friend Jason Willis and Zen Carter, along with Vern Mahorny and Luke Greenia, Stealth Mode and Dawko, Mike Podekowitz, Captain Blinsky. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to see all the familiar names. Everybody can participate in today's chat as long as you hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, you cannot participate in this video's chat, but you only need to be subscribed for 1 minute. So at least that way, if I'm going to get spammed and botted, at least I can get a subscription out of it, right? One more subscriber. Let's get started, all right? This is the Beelink. This is a GTR6, and the specs on this are outrageous. Let me pull up the Amazon page for this so we can go over what the specs are and why I've got other mini PCs to review, but I was really anxious to do this one because of its specs. Now, the one we did prior was also from Beelink. That was an Intel 12th gen. This Beelink is an AMD using the RDNA 2 built-in graphics. It's, well, I got the specs on the back of the box. It's an AMD Ryzen 9. It's a Ryzen 9. 6900HX. It's 32 gigs of RAM on it, 500 gig solid state drive that they claim does 7,000 megabytes per second. It's Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, I'm not quite sure. Amazon says it's a 6E, the back of the box says 6. It's got 2.5 gig LAN connection on the back. And this is the heaviest of the mini PCs I've ever picked up. It feels like it weighs like 3 bricks worth. You know what a brick weighs? It's like that, but 3 times that. I want to go to the Amazon page and pull up the link for this so you can see it. Now, I do have a link for this in the video notes below the video. This is a high-end machine. On Amazon right now, it's $959. Here in the US, there's a $60 coupon code bringing it to $899. But let me explain to you why it's $899. Because if you tried to build a desktop with these specs, you'd easily go over that. Let me turn on my screen sharing, which I have right over here. Bear with me just a minute as I'm setting up OBS. That ought to do it. Okay, so the GTR6 Ryzen 9 6900HX is an 8-core 16-thread CPU with built-in graphics. This thing has 4 HDMI outputs on it that can all be used simultaneously. It says it's Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2. Of course, it's got Windows 11. And if we scroll down, we can see everything about the item, such as the AMD Ryzen 9 6900HX is a mobile processor with 8 cores, 16 threads, operates at 3.3 to 4.9 gigahertz. Woo. TDP of 45 watts, consumes typical power levels for a modern PC, which can turn your desktop into a powerful workstation. The Beelink GTR6 mini PC can be used for video and photo editing, office tasks, 4K video viewing, high-end games, and virtualization work, as well as other heavy applications. It's easy to set up, small in size. It's got 1 Type-C, USB, 4, as I mentioned, 4 HDMI outputs, 3 USB 3.0, 2 USB 2.0, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, a 3.5 millimeter audio jack that supports and it supports Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax, AX would be 6E, wouldn't it? Gigabit Ethernet, we already talked about Bluetooth. Metal frame, dual fan design. Interesting, we'll see if it's noisy or not. It's an 8K quad display output, so what that means is each one of the video outputs enables you to multitask, fully capable of browsing the internet, use Microsoft Office, Adobe, watch UHD videos, play games, do it all desktop in another dimension. Installed with a dual channel DDR5, so it's DDR5 RAM. So that's going to cost more just to get the DDR5 from DDR4 is a significant price increase right now here in late 2022. It's only a 500 gig M.2, however, you can replace it and upgrade it if you want to. And they also give you another M.2 slot, which is SATA 3, which supports, it says up to 2 terabytes, but I suspect there's not a limit on that other than that's probably the most common size, large size of SATA SSD that people buy. It does have a fingerprint login, so if you want to secure the computer without using a password, you can use your fingerprint. All of Beelink mini PCs have obtained FCC and CE certification. They've all passed strict inspection before shipping. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Okay, and 1 year worry-free warranty with 24 hours customer service. And if I scroll down here, there's more specifications. Of course, you can pull the site up yourself if you want to look at more specifications that are here on Amazon and look at the reviews and see what people are saying about it. Overall, there are more 5-star reviews by far than any other. And if there were no negative reviews, I would be very suspicious. Okay, so that looks good. Let me switch back over to camera 1. Here I am. Perfect. And let's see. I gotta get my knife. I see Flip or Flop in the chat room. Flip or Flop's been in here and been active a lot lately, so I'm gonna turn Flip or Flop into moderator status, make you blue. So essentially, people who come in and they're friendly and they participate, you don't have to be in every video, but if I start to recognize you, I'll just turn you blue if you seem like a good person. What I mean by good, I mean nice, and that you interact. If you're somebody who just watches and you don't even so much as say hello in the chat room, I don't even know you're watching. So, you know, it's like you're hidden away somewhere. I don't even know you're there. And that's fine, but I sure do encourage all of you to pop on in at least once, say hello. Doesn't matter if you're socially awkward or shy or insecure. This community that we've created is so amazing. Everybody is kind to one another. And I promise you, if you say hello, others in the chat will say hello back. You will not get harassed. And if you are harassed, I'll put an end to it right away, because this is not what our community is about. Are we ready for the unboxing? Well, I don't care, because I am. So I just want to dive into this. I'm so excited to see how they've crammed so much power into such a little tiny computer. Now, as far as like a media PC goes, this is overkill, way overkill. You don't need to spend this kind of money if all you want to do is have an HT a home theater PC. It's way overkill. This is fully a desktop replacement, including doing video editing and gaming. Let's see. Looks like I hold it this way and lift up the box. Oh, I think we need close-ups for this. Let's get Camera Girl to work over here, and we'll get you nice close-ups of what's going on and how this is packed. Bear with me just a minute as we get that set up. Oh, that was weird. Let's see, we want close-up camera. Is that on? Yeah, let's try it. Here we go. Come on over. Yeah, now we're cooking with gas. All right, let's point down at the bottom. They don't need to see my mug. So we've got our documentation. Hey, something comes with documentation. How crazy is that? Of course, I'm not going to read it. And then just this little packing material there. And what I will do is turn the box upside down and lift it up. So there we've got the computer, which it's all sealed up here. Ooh, it's a little bigger than I expected. It's relatively thin, but it's just a bit longer than like an Intel NUC. Let me have you step to your, there you go, let's go that way. Get rid of that. What else do we have? Oh, so this piece right here, this is this felt, and I guess you can change it out to red if you prefer. I guess you'd have to open it up to change that. Obviously there must be a fan under there that keeps things cool from the top. That's a neat touch. Black and red is always a nice color combination for those that want it to stand out. If it was being used in a business or perhaps as an HTPC, you'd probably just want to keep it subtle, keep it black. Then still in the box we have even more stuff here. It looks like we have, oh, this lid pulls up. And inside, what do we have in here? I don't know what that is. We've got an HDMI cable. We have a mount, so you could mount this to the back of a monitor, for example, if you wanted it off the desk. We have a power cable. That's the Mickey Mouse style power cable, right? Kind of looks like Mickey Mouse with the ears and the head. And then another HDMI cable. These are really, really short HDMI cables, which would be ideal if you've mounted this computer to the back of your monitor. You don't want a 6-foot long cable going from the back of it to the back of your screen. So I won't be using these because I'm not mounting it to the back of the screen, and that's what the enclosed screws are for, to secure the bracket here to the back of the unit and then to the back of your monitor. And then we've got the power brick, so that's the thing that weighs a ton. That's where all of our weight is, right here. And then we also have another bag of screws that appears to be mounting screws for like a 2.5-inch hard drive. I'm guessing it can take it, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head why they would include that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of this stuff in the box because we don't need this for our demo today. And we'll just kind of give this a startup and a walkthrough and see how it performs, see if it's loud. Put everything else back in the box because I'm going to clear my desk space a little bit here so I have room to work. Okay, so first things first, let's take a look at the backside. Check that out. 2.5 gig LAN, 4 HDMI ports, which is insane. There's 2 USB 3s, 2 USB 2s. That's our power input there. Anything on the side? Ooh, that's cool. On the front, we have 1 USB 3 Type A and a Type C. Power button. What's that green button say? What does that do?
Clear CMOS.
Oh, so you can overclock this bad boy. So it must have a full BIOS, unlike many pre-builts that lock you out. And as you're experimenting with your overclocking, if it freezes up on you until you get a stable overclock, be careful. Don't hit that button accidentally. I'm not real happy with the placement of that button. I think it should be recessed and hidden a little bit more so it's not mistakenly pressed, especially if you've customized your BIOS settings. Then this little pull tab here, as we learned on the last Beelink mini PC, that is when we remove the screws from this back plate and you pull this tab to lift the back plate off. And that'll give you access to your RAM, your storage, and your Wi-Fi if you ever want to upgrade that. Let's get it plugged in. Both sides just say GTR. That's the whole thing. This felt material on the top, that's our fingerprint reader right up there if you wanted to use that for login to your Windows desktop. I don't use those myself, but if it was in a business where we needed to secure things, we have a very, very short power cable here. I don't like it when they do this to me. But again, you know, the idea is that we're going to put this further away from the machine. So they give you I still think this should be about 6 feet long. However, that is what it is. And we're going to get this plugged in. I got to get a keyboard and a mouse. We're not going to put it up on the internet because I'm going to need to sign in with a new account. I want a local account on Windows 11. And I've written those steps down until I memorize them to bypass the Microsoft's forceful, implying the forceful way of forcing you to have making you believe you're forced to have a Microsoft account where you don't have to have one. Nothing wrong with having one, but when I'm selling computers to customers, I can't sign in with my Microsoft account to my customer's computer. So I always set them up with local accounts. Customers can keep it that way, or they can change the local account name, or they can sign in with their Microsoft account if they want to, but that's up to them. Now, we can plug into any 4 of these HDMI ports here. Doesn't matter which one, they auto sense. And then I need a keyboard and a mouse, as I previously mentioned. So I've got my standard keyboard and mouse. Oh, the thing's already booting. Why did that happen? I see the power light is on. Let's plug this in over here. Let me turn this thing off. Why it started up like that. Just hold the power button in for 10 seconds. That works on every desktop and laptop, by the way. All right, so if we come around here, like so, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And you should see the power light up, which it is. It's hard to tell with the studio lighting. And then I'm going to switch over to the HDMI input, which says no signal. Okay. Bear with me for just a second. I might be plugged into the wrong cable. Okay, you are off. Let me turn on camera 1 for a second, just so you guys don't think that I've disconnected from YouTube or anything. So what I'll do is I'll put myself right there, and then let me follow this cable, make sure it's going. That should be my HDMI input. I do believe. Let's see, it's going down there. That should be the right input. Oh, there it goes. It's starting to boot now. And I can make myself a little bit smaller. Put myself a little further in the corner. Okay, this is our first time boot. I can hear the fan, as I suspected it would be a bit louder than some of the other mini PCs because it's such a high-end CPU, but it's not loud, but it's loud enough to know it's on. So now we'll go through the standard setup process here, which I always do the same way. We want English, yes. And United States, yes. United States keyboard. I don't want any other keyboard layout. You have to accept the license agreement. What are you going to do? Who's going to use this device? I'm just going to say user. Hit next. I want to leave the password blank. Hey, it didn't force me on the Microsoft account. That's good. I turn everything off but location settings, and I do that to keep the date and time synced. I also do that so if I want to say, where's a restaurant near me, I don't have to say where I am. Location settings help with that. But the end user can adjust these to their preferences. This is just how I set them up for my clients. And that's just based on overall experience from what clients are requesting. It's to prevent a support call. So we're finishing up here our first boot. And while we're waiting for that, let me look in the chat room. Nick Poverman says, I like these mini PCs for streaming on a big television as long as you can use a VESA mount. Yeah, it certainly appears that way, although how that would be a VESA mount on the back of a television is very different from the spacing of a VESA mount on the back of a monitor. But I'm sure you could find clever ways to attach it. See, Bob Wilson's joined us. Welcome in, Bob. Al in the chat room thinks this thing's going to be dead from heat in a year and a half. I have never seen a computer die from heat. I've seen people overclock their machines and cause them to overheat and cause a detrimental effect on their computer. However, modern electronics, especially with modern AMD and Intel CPUs, they will throttle themselves, and it's nearly impossible to cause them to overheat if you leave them at their regular recommended specs. It's when the end user goes in and tries to eke out more power, you have to apply more power creates more heat, and this is designed to be overclocked if you want to do that. I recommend against it. I think the performance gains aren't worth the risk. However, it's your machine, you can do with it what you want. But I could almost guarantee this machine is going to last at least 10 years, if not 12. There's always reasons why machines can fail, such as power spikes, or somebody spills something on it, or they drop it on the floor. But I can tell you the original Intel NUC that I built in April of 2013 still works perfectly today. I will say it struggles a little bit with modern applications and the number of modern applications running simultaneously because it's only an i3. But if it were an i5 or an i7, it wouldn't be struggling nearly as bad. Here, we're at a flagship processor level here from AMD, so I would say 10 years at least. So all of these prophecies of failure are just so easy, right? I can walk up to a stranger on the street and they can prophesize my failure. It requires zero effort and has zero evidence. So a lot of experiences that people have had from 10, 15 years ago, they don't apply to modern electronics. And this is a problem we see with the older generation. When we see this particular problem, it's because they're still thinking in an old way. Same with all the data hoarding. It's not usually young people that do that. It's older people where we got accustomed to having to have our own stuff, where not everything is streamable and in the cloud. And so that's what we learned, and that's what we know, and that's what we do, even though it's entirely not necessary anymore in most cases. So bear in mind, when you're hearing from people on the internet, if you don't know who they are, and they're not providing you with any official source of information that they're acquiring or proliferating to you, I would certainly not take it seriously. These Beelink machines are exceptionally well built. I'm not being paid by Beelink to do this video. If I thought it was going to overheat or not last, I would tell you that. And unlike the person in the chat, I actually have it in front of me, and I've had other mini PCs. I have yet to have a mini PC fail, be it AMD or Intel. I've just never seen one fail. If anything was going to go, probably the power adapter would be the thing to go first. Or you could get a noisy fan over time, depending on how dusty your environment is. That'd probably be the worst of it. And again, never had any of these problems, but those would be the ones if I was prophesizing failure. That's more likely. Once again, power spikes, spills, drops, abuse, misuse, obviously that's going to limit the life of not only any device, including a car, but also a person's lifespan if they treat their life that way. Well, let's take a look here. Let's log into, or rather, let me go to the specifications and see that everything lines up like it should. So I'll click on the Start menu. Let's go to System first. Take a look at our specifications. AMD Ryzen 9 is 6900HX, 32 gigs of RAM. 3.2 gigs is being used for our video card. Now you might want to go into the BIOS and change the amount of RAM dedicated to the GPU that's integrated for playing better performance in playing games. It's not going to make a big difference, but it might make enough of a difference to be worth it. You'll have to experiment with that depending on what game, what version of the game, and what graphical settings you're playing under. It is Windows 11 Pro. Very good. And let me just verify our drive size here. We'll go over to the yellow folder, and I'll click on this PC. And yeah, it's 500 gigs as advertised. We can run Crystal Disk Mark on it to see if it's actually at 7,000 megabytes per second, which is fantastic if it is. I'm going to just turn off the indexing service. It just takes up room on the hard drive, and I don't know anybody that uses it. There might be some of you watching that use it, but you represent a very tiny percentage of average ordinary consumer users. For me, I'd rather have the drive space back. So that's going to take a minute to just go through all the files. Well, that's working. I'm going to now plug in the internet so we can hit Windows Update. So we'll go over here, just plug this in right here into our LAN port. I don't even know anybody running 2.5 gigabit per second networking. The switches are still over $100, at least the ones I've seen. And I don't have any 2.5 gig NASs. I would have no benefit if I were to utilize 2.5. But it auto negotiates from 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 2,500. So just because it's 2.5 doesn't mean it only runs at 2.5. Just because your car speedometer goes to 160 doesn't mean you have to drive 160. Just saying, it's kind of the same thing. All right, let me go back now. I think that indexing turned off. Here we go. Oh no, it's still running back there. Okay, let me just close this so I can see it. So it takes a minute to just go through all the files. Better to do that now than to add a bunch of programs and then go, oh, forgot to turn off indexing. And then you have to remove the indexing from more files, which takes longer. So we'll get it out of the way right now and free that drive space up. Well, it's not taking up much space right now. It will over time if you continue to add a bunch of files to it. Or leave it on if you use it. But again, I don't know anybody who benefits from that. You're still going to be able to search just like you always have been. You just can't search inside of the documents. I don't know who does that. I'm sure somebody out there does it. But again, it's a very small percentage of people. This is an option that I turn off because my customers don't want it. They don't miss it. They'd rather have the drive space. Same attitude I have. But of course, they can always turn it on if they need it or want it or want to play with it. Doesn't matter to me. So it's not something you have to do. Flip or Flop suggests that disabling the index service also prolongs the life of a solid-state drive. Well, I suppose that's true. However, there's always going to be temp files and the swap file and things like that. And I have never seen a solid-state drive. Well, first of all, it's kind of a misnomer to say it prolongs the life of it. Your solid-state drive doesn't die when it's worn out. It just becomes read-only. It's like it's write protected and you can't save anything else to the drive. I've never seen anybody in my career, or at least since solid-state drives were available to consumers, I've never seen anybody wear one out that way. The only time I've ever seen that is on YouTube and websites that write to the drive until it fails. I've never, and again, when I say fails, when it becomes read-only, just like a CD. I've never seen it happen. So this idea that you're prolonging the life of something, you will likely replace this drive because you ran out of room or because there's a faster drive out long before you ever run out of write cycles. So once again, we talk about theoretics, and it doesn't really apply in reality for 99.9% of computer owners. These will oftentimes will outlive human beings, but you will replace it because it's too slow or too small long before it fails. Now, there's always exceptions, right? Some things fail for reasons that who knows why, but in general, these things will be replaced long before you wear them out. They should have a lifespan of somewhere between 40 and 70 years, so it'll likely outlive a lot of us. but we will have gotten rid of it. I mean, I had a 40 meg hard drive in 1987. It might still work today. What would I do with it? All right, so don't worry about theoretical. This could happen. I've yet to actually see it happen in real life. Tim Teal says, I just took in a laptop that was at build 1607 of Windows 10. I couldn't believe it. I would download the Windows Update Assistant, because if you go through Windows Update, it'll probably cycle you through all the updates. I would use the Windows Update Assistant and just go right to the latest version rather than getting all the intermediate versions, so you'll be there forever. Corey Liddell in the chat says, do you have any advice for starting an IT career, like work experience or books, etc.? Sure. I mean, if you look at my YouTube channel and search it, you will find all kinds of content where that's been discussed a lot. So if we look, for example, let me just demonstrate it. Our indexing is done anyway. So we'll do two things here. We're going to start Windows Update. We'll see how many updates we're missing. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to click here. And we're already downloading updates in the background. Now, while that's downloading updates, let's go to YouTube. I'll start without my data. I don't want that box checked. Confirm and start browsing. Okay. Now, we'll go to YouTube. Here's what we can do. We can go to youtube.com/Kerry Holzman, just to cheat a little bit here. It'll take us right to my page. And you'll see there's a search right here. And that's true of any YouTube content creator's website. And we want to type in, let's just type in books. Let's see what videos I have. Computer books I recommend. How to start your own computer business. This book here is for what we call digital immigrants, generally the older generation that doesn't really have a foundation of computers. This is a very easy to follow book. It's a bit old now, so I don't believe it has Windows 10. It would have Windows 7 and Windows 8 in there, I'm sure. And, tools that I recommend, free advice on starting a computer repair business. Here's a video on how I got started, how I wound up in this career. And there's information on some data recovery or rescuing. There's so many different career paths in IT. It's hard to point you to any one specific source of information to consider, because there's programming and there's network infrastructure, there administration, there's database programming, there's website design, there's data recovery. Like if we look under data recovery, that is a whole career in and of itself. As you look at, for example, behind the scenes with $300 data recovery, that's a full-time job for, it's probably been a decade or more for Brian Cometa, the owner. And he's doing quite well. We followed that up with a part 2, and even came back a couple of years later and followed him up with the constant misinformation online that suggests that SSDs are not recoverable, which is not true. And not all hard drives are recoverable either. And then just some basic data recovery I've demonstrated. Flash drives and memory cards. That's Brian Cometa again. And yeah, data destruction, data cloning, hard drive cloning for upgrades, replacements. So yes, to answer your question, there's a lot of content on my channel that addresses what I recommend for getting started in the business, depending on what it is in the business you're looking to do. I would always recommend you work for somebody at first, so you understand the flow of things and understand what the processes are before you strike out on your own. Not that you said you wanted to strike out on your own, but that just getting into the career. So you just have to figure out what part of the career you want. I suppose that's the hardest bit. So we'll let that continue to update. I'm going to go back over here and take a look in the chat and see if you guys have other questions for me as we're waiting for updates to complete on this machine. And then we can load Crystal Diskmark and see what our performance is. We can load CPU-Z. These are free portable apps that we can use for measuring performance. When I talk about benchmarking, I'm not trying to break any records. I'm not trying to look for a specific number. I'm looking for a range, and I want to make sure the computer's operating in a range I expect. And as long as it's doing that, right? And so I'll use CPU-Z and Crystal Diskmark to evaluate the performance of the computer's data transfer speed and overall performance. Andy Kane says to Corey, maybe do your A+ course and get certified first. He says, in my opinion, I'm doing mine at present. Yeah, again, it depends what you want to do in a career. A+ may not apply if you're doing things like cyber security or network administration and things like that. Flipper Flop says, it's like the medical field, a full tree branch that extends in multiple fields, including IT in the medical industry. I mean, all that medical equipment needs to be maintained. And so you can specialize in, I have a friend of mine who's a programmer and wrote software for kidney dialysis, just dialysis machines. He wrote code for that. I have another friend that works for, I don't know, like GE or one of the big makers of hospital equipment that visits different hospitals to fix that specific equipment. So we call that being vertical, being that you specialize in a particular type of equipment. And the more expensive the equipment is, the more likely the companies are going to pay bigger dollars to keep it running, as opposed to just like working for consumers where everybody's overall trying to get away with something cheap. That's a tough way to earn a dollar. You know, I see ads on Craigslist, or at least I used to. I haven't been on Craigslist in a long time, where people are like, hey, I fix computers for $25. I feel bad because anybody who's really good at their job won't be doing it for $25. And the people that are going to pay $25 are going to be, in general, some of the most difficult to please customers who are going to demand a lot of your time, and they want to make sure they get their $25 worth. In other words, they want to get $200 worth out of you if you're willing to give it to them. And if you don't, then they might get upset because it says here $25, right? So you got to be careful because customers, some of which will try and get away with whatever you allow them to get away with. Not everybody's kind and considerate. And that's a tough way to earn a dollar. So definitely want to work for somebody first for at least a year. And then if you decide you want to branch out on your own, or you decide that you want to move into a specific field, like maybe you got a little taste of networking and maybe that was 10% of your job and you like that, that's your favorite part, you want to do that 100% of the time, then you can go apply somewhere else for a networking position and see what certifications they require. I don't recommend getting any certifications at all unless a job you want requires them. Otherwise, it's a waste of time and money. Experience speaks way more than any certs. Some places that are offering jobs will require, they'll have certain prerequisites, sometimes a certain level of college education, sometimes experience, sometimes certifications, sometimes a combination thereof. You can't solve a problem that you don't know what the problem is. So getting these certs isn't necessarily helping you. So I would wait to see, once again, if there's a position open and it requires a certain level of college or a certain level of certs, then you would have justification to make that investment. Other than that, It's a lot of studying. It's a lot of money. The certification business is a big industry. It makes millions every year. Certifications don't last forever. They're good for a couple of years. Then you need to recertify again. That's how they stay in business. Just like any school, school costs big money. Certs are a form of schooling. Corey says, thanks, Carrie. I always find your videos helpful. My end goal is cybersecurity analyst, but looking to start with the fundamentals to get some broad knowledge. Yeah, well, that's a great career to get into. Cybersecurity is going to be a very strong field for the future as far as I can see it. You shouldn't have any hard time finding work. Kyle wants to know if Windows 10 dies on October 14th of 2025. It doesn't die. It just stops getting support from Microsoft after October 14th of 2025. No more updates. So you could load Windows 98 if you want right now. Go for it. It hasn't had updates in 20 years. Same with Windows 95 or Windows 7. The operating systems still work, but the internet is evolving at a pace that's very difficult to fathom. As a human being, what's happening every second on the internet, hundreds of thousands of changes are going on. Websites are adding new features, utilizing the features of a newer browser. The browser stopped working eventually in the operating system, where you won't even be able to hook up anything into a Windows 7 system, from a printer to software. It'll say, hey, I'm not compatible with this. It makes you very, very vulnerable online to use an unsupported operating system. But 2025, October 14th, is just about 3 years away, a little bit less. So there's no reason to have any anxiety or any worry. You're good on Windows 10, and you know, until then. And I would recommend going to Windows 11 or going to a supported operating system prior to October 14th of 2025. And in my opinion, prior to the, let's say, summertime of 2025 is about the latest that I would wait, or I would allow my clients to wait. Likely, I will have all my clients on Windows 11 in the winter, within the first quarter of 2025, and no later than the second quarter or the first half of the year. Once we enter into fall of 2025, you should already be on a supported operating system and off of Windows 10. Now, you could continue to use Windows 10 throughout the end of 2025. It's probably not going to be that big of a threat, but it's not a good practice. It's not worth rolling the dice. It doesn't instantly overnight become exploitable. As long as you've got all the latest updates in place as of October 14th of 2025 on Windows 10, you'll probably be okay till the end of the year. But I would recommend by summer 2025, you have a supported operating system in place, which may require replacing your computer. If you put Windows 11 on an unsupported computer, you're right back to being exploitable again. So that means your identity can be stolen, your data could be encrypted in ransomware, your PC could be completely taken over, and you didn't do anything other than turn it on and connect to the internet. Your antivirus can't protect you from these types of exploits. It's just inherent into the operating system. And hackers love when you guys do that, because the hackers are going to be using the latest and greatest hardware and software to hack you. And the hackers love to not work. So when you make it easy for them, even though you're not a celebrity, you're not well known, let's say you're not a public figure, but it was just easy to steal from you, of course the hackers are going to do that. Hackers love it. Thieves love not working. So a thief is always going to do the thing that requires the least amount of effort. If you make it easy for them, then you're increasing your odds. That's all I'm saying. You're increasing your odds of being affected. So what you do is up to you. But no, Windows 10 doesn't just stop working. It'll let you continue to use it, but you might find certain software won't install anymore. Eventually, browsers won't work on it anymore. You buy a new printer, there'll be no drivers and no way for it to work. No different than if you were running Windows 95 right now, or Windows 98, or Windows Vista. It's not supported. So good luck keeping everything running. Now, if you take it off the internet and you want to run software and hardware from that era on that machine of that era, it'll continue to work. But the minute you try and change something, put something modern on it, the minute you try and find parts for a repair, things get expensive and hard to find. That's partly why they're expensive, because there's supply and demand. People know if you need this DDR2 RAM, it's really hard to find. So they can charge a lot more for it. There's a $10 Super Chat contribution from Mike Ladd. He says, I've been with you for years. I'm just paying my dues. I love the channel and the community. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that very much. Joe in the chat wants to know, in my opinion, would the Beelink be appropriate for use as a presentation computer in a church setting? It's probably overkill, this model, to do that. You will have to bring a keyboard and a mouse with you. You could get a much cheaper unit from Beelink that's also smaller and lighter, but you're still going to need to bring a keyboard and a mouse at the very least. But other than that, sure. I mean, it's effectively a laptop without a screen when you think about it. There's no battery and there's no screen, but it's using laptop parts, laptop memory, laptop CPU. So yes, absolutely, it can be used in presentations. I would rather use a laptop because, you know, I got my keyboard, my mouse, my screen. I could tuck it under my arm, set it up, and I can even run it off the battery without running a power cable. But the short answer to your question is yes. That's true of any mini PC. Doggo says, I'm disappointed my 3-year-old Ryzen 5 2400G is not compatible with Windows 11. It's not that old. But you're on socket AM4. You can easily upgrade that CPU for $100, $200, and have something that is Windows 11 compliant. Furthermore, your 3-year-old computer will be a 6-year-old computer by the time you're required to go to Windows 11. That's a good time to treat yourself to a little something, little boost, whether it's just replacing your CPU or buying a whole new machine. So I don't consider that any issue to worry about. I see a lot of anxiety about Windows 11. People go to Windows Update and it says, your computer's not Windows 11 compatible. And they freak out. What do I do? What do I do? Ask me in the summer of 2025 or ask me in January of 2025 and I'll provide answers then. There's nothing you need to do for Windows 11. If you're running Windows 10, just keep running it. Who cares that you get a message that says it's not Windows 11 compatible? Who cares? There's nothing Windows 11 does that I'm aware of that Windows 10 doesn't already do. So what's the point of going to it? If you get a new computer that like this, it comes with Windows 11, fine. I don't see any reason not to have Windows 11, but I don't see any reason to upgrade Windows 10 to Windows 11, at least not yet. So, you know, I'm running Windows 10 on the streamer, and I will expect that I'm going to continue to run Windows 10 on the streamer until at least the winter of 2025. I won't change it out any sooner than that. Now, I might bring in another streaming computer, and that might be more modern and has Windows 11 on it, especially if I have a 12th or 13th gen Intel chip that can work a bit more optimally. But most people wouldn't notice a difference. Honestly, you can run your 12th or 13th gen Intel on a Windows 10 computer just fine, and all but the most critical, snobbiest, hardest to please people would notice the difference. So there's food for thought there. The reason you keep seeing the rainbow bars and the no signal is the computer's not sensing any activity from me, and it's shutting the monitor off because it thinks I've walked away, and it's doing that to save power. I usually change that setting, but because it's brand new and we've just unboxed it and turned it on, I haven't gotten to that point yet. Let me just take a quick look here. For me, I need to make the screen bigger so I can see what's going on. All right, got a few more updates that are pending install. My internet connection is pretty slow here, so That's not a representation of the performance of the computer. It's a representation of the lack of performance of my internet connection, which if you've been watching my channel for the last couple of years, you know this has been my biggest issue here at Studio B is getting a good enough internet connection to at least broadcast. I've suffered for about a year just making videos that are live because they were kept disconnecting. I had all kinds of problems. So at least now it's good enough that I can broadcast live. Not in 4K, that's not working well. Eventually I'll have this addressed, but in the meantime, I don't want you to think that the performance of this computer is bad or slow because of my slow internet connection. Bill Wicken says, I have a 7-year-old laptop and I'm thinking of replacing it and trying to decide between another laptop or a mini PC or a desktop. Any suggestions? Well, I would encourage folks in the chat to offer their opinions here because there's no right or wrong answer other than what fits your needs. Desktops are more upgradable, they're more repairable, but they're not as portable, right? It's going to take up some desktop room. You're going to need to provide your own keyboard, mouse, monitor, speakers. Whereas a laptop's got all that built in and a battery. But batteries always go bad. Even if you keep the laptop plugged in and never use the battery, it will still die or have very little life within 3 to 5 years. Whether you used it or you didn't, just like a car battery, their lifespan is very limited. If you need the portability, if you travel a lot, laptops can make sense, but then so can a tablet. Maybe all you need is a Chromebook. Maybe you'd be better off with a desktop where you have the ability to configure things, where it's much cheaper to upgrade the RAM and much more accessible. You can get a bigger monitor. You can get a keyboard that you like. You can get a mouse that you like. Of course, you can add a monitor, a keyboard, and mouse to a laptop too, but that kind of defeats the point of having the laptop. You will pay more for the laptop because you're paying for the portability, the battery, the monitor. All that stuff is built into the price, and as a result, it's harder to work on, and many of the parts are proprietary that you can only acquire from the laptop manufacturer, which is why I recommend an extended warranty. If you're buying an expensive laptop, I would buy an extended warranty if you're planning on keeping it a long time. So if anything happens to it, you have peace of mind for the length of your extended warranty. If you think you're just going to replace it in a couple of years, whatever. A lot of the cheaper laptops, they're not worth fixing. Once they go out of warranty, they can cost as much to repair as simply buying another cheap laptop. If you're buying a desktop, I would personally recommend you build your own, as I demonstrate on my channel, rather than buying a pre-built. Laptops, you can't build yourself. I mean, there's a framework laptop, but for the most part, you're buying laptops pre-built. And I like Dell XPS laptops. They're pricey. They're, for me, $1,200 to $2,500, but they last me a very, very long time. I can do video editing on them. They're very powerful machines. One of the reasons this is much cheaper than my Dell XPS is because I'm not paying for the monitor, I'm not paying for the keyboard and the mouse or the speakers, and laptops are more prone to being stolen or dropped or damage in general because of the portable nature of it. This, on the other hand, I don't know that people are buying this because they want to move it around a bunch. You could, you absolutely could, but the minute you start doing that, you're opening it up to opportunities of theft and dropping it. If you're careful with it, it should run no differently than a laptop in that regard. But you'd be less likely to spill something on it or eat and have crumbs fall into it, like people do with laptops, because they have them often close to where they can type. You could have this machine further away from you and have your keyboard close up. So if there's a spill or you're eating at your desk and crumbs are falling into your keyboard, it's not affecting the computer. There's pros and cons every way you look at it, but you will pay more, generally speaking, for things that are portable because they have to be made smaller. They're going to be more expensive and more difficult to repair overall. And that's why when you're spending, a big chunk of change on a nice one, buy the extended warranty. If you're building your own computer, you have no need to buy the extended warranty because you become the warranty. You're the one that's going to do the labor. Parts for for desktops, you have your choice of thousands of different brands of motherboards and memory. You have thousands of choices, or I mean, dozens of choices of CPUs to pick from, hundreds of choices of power supplies and cases. You can customize it and make it all about you at your budget. And if you really want more RAM, or if you want more storage, or you want a better video card, that's all doable on a desktop. Not so much on a laptop. Pretty much you can upgrade the RAM, you can upgrade the Wi-Fi, you can upgrade the storage on a laptop or these mini PCs. That's about it. Everything else becomes proprietary. You have to go back to the manufacturer for those parts if needed. And we're still going to sleep over here. All right, keep waking that up. Maybe I can just adjust those power options while I'm waiting. It's done that 3 times to me now. I'll just go over here and I'm just going to type, click on the power button, or the Windows button, power. Got to spell it right, Carrie. I don't want PowerShell, I want power settings. Choose a power plan. Let's change the plan settings. Let's turn off the display after 2 hours. I never want the computer to go to sleep. Let's go to advanced power settings and see what our, let's see, turn the hard disk off, never. And CPU settings, AMD, power slider, that's the display, processor power. Minimum should be 5. What was it? 0 is a minimum and maximum should be 100. Perfect. Click OK. Save these changes. Now that shouldn't happen to us anymore while we're live. Bill Wiggins says, thanks, Carrie, for your input. I've been a silent watcher for years, and I am a native Michigander from Grand Rapids, currently in Vancouver, Washington. Well, thanks for saying hello and letting me know, because I would never know if you're a silent viewer. I have no idea. So it's nice when people, take a moment and just say hello in the chat. Nice to know you're watching. Nice to know who's watching. I'm looking through your chat to see if you have any other questions as we're waiting for this to update. I just don't want to run the tests until I have all the updates in it. And again, my internet connection here is pretty slow. So, that's where I'm on the fence before I start these videos. If I should unbox these and do the updates and go through the setup to speed the video along, or if I really want to share the entire experience from unboxing to show you what it looks like, and how it's packed, to then going through the original first-time setup process. So once again, you'll know what to expect. And if your computer that you order is the same make and model, but it's packaged differently, you might be buying a returns unit or an open box unit that you weren't intending to buy, or somebody made a mistake. That's one way to tell. Or when you turn it on, it goes right to Windows without any setup. Clearly somebody had that and returned it. And so by showing the unboxing, you know what it should look like when it's new. Luke West in the chat room wants to know, you mentioned framework laptops earlier. What is your opinion on them? Framework laptops is not a new idea. This has been attempted at least 3 times in the last 30 years that I've been doing, over 30 years. They've all failed. And the reason why they fail is lack of any third-party manufacturers jumping on board to offer options. And when that happens, it forces everybody in that marketplace to be more competitive on their pricing. When you have one manufacturer that's making the parts, they dictate the prices. So framework laptops, it just feels like the same old circles. We've already been through this twice before. They always fail. They fail for lack of support. They fail for lack of third-party companies making compatible products. The reason why companies won't do it is typically because there are royalties involved that the parent company gets, and or the market that you can sell to is too small. There aren't enough owners of framework laptops to justify putting $1 million into a startup and factory tooling to create hardware that can be compatible with it. So that might change, but it's never been this concept of a laptop that you can interchange parts in and out has been attempted at least twice before. It's always failed, and I don't expect any different results now. But I could be wrong. So for now, to me it's gimmicky, and I wouldn't buy one. Do I have to click install now on these updates? I think that button's shaded out and you can see the percentage counter is moving. If it says ready to install and it's just sitting there, then you'll see the install button is clickable. Right now the install button is grayed out and you will see percentages indicating things are currently installing. It's not like paused waiting to hear from me. And the reason I know that is I see the percentages moving. If it just says ready to install on every single thing, then, and it's nothing else is happening, and then it's waiting on me. So it's very easy to tell. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is where sometimes I have to click on install, and most of the time it just happens automatically. I haven't really sat down to compare one to the other to determine what's triggering those differences, but I don't really care. Corey wants to know, if you could start over in your career, would you have done anything differently? Would you go down a different path? No, I'm very happy with where I'm at. It's not like I had a choice in 1991 to start a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that my career has adjusted to and changed pathways because the technology and opportunities became available that were not available prior. So no, I wouldn't change anything given I started in 1991 professionally. I was already doing this as a hobby in the 80s. It became a career in 1991, and it's been a career ever since. Thank goodness, because otherwise I'd probably be an auto mechanic and I'd be worried about everything going electronic with, either a hybrid car, which is a nightmare to work on, or a fully electric car, which is a whole different skill set than a normal mechanic has. I'm glad I did not go down that path. But thanks for the questions. If you guys have any other questions for me, please do ask in the chat. I'll do my best to provide an answer. Now I see the button there on Windows 11 became blue. It's no longer shaded out. So I need to make my screen bigger to figure out what it wants. Pending restart, completed, and pending restart. So clearly I need to restart. We'll go ahead and restart that and let those updates finish and apply and take effect on the next boot. And we'll go back and check for more updates to the updates. And we will repeat that until there are no more updates. And then I can use my flash drive with utilities on it here and copy over the Crystal Diskmark utility and the CPU-Z portable utilities to evaluate some performance numbers. Rasa wants to know what my thoughts are on lower-end Intel CPUs launching next month, like a 13500, 13400, 13100. They usually have a few cores now. I don't recommend the i3 series or the Ryzen 3 series because they're not going to have a very long useful life. If you just spend a little bit more money to an i5 or a Ryzen 5, you'll have a CPU that will last a couple of years longer. So for that reason, if you're spending that kind of cash on building a new machine, I don't recommend Ryzen 3s or i3s or anything below that. As for anything else, well, it depends on what your needs are and what your budget is. The more you spend, the longer useful life the machine will have. The less you spend, the sooner you'll have to upgrade or replace it. That's sort of just the general overall thought of it. So it really depends on, I just need something to get me by a couple years, or I need something to go through college, but when I graduate from college and have a job with my degree, I can afford something much nicer at that point. Or I just want to buy it once, do it right the first time, and not worry about it for 8 to 12 years. So you're going to get what you pay for. The more you spend, the longer useful life you'll have out of it. So it just depends on the needs of the user. These chips exist not to rip anybody off. Intel's not pulling a fast one, and AMD's not pulling a fast one by offering lower end chips. They do this because of budgetary restraint, and people have certain needs that will never exceed what an i3 can do, for example. Or they just need something temporary, or they need something like for digital signage and they don't want a high-end computer to run their digital signage, all this kind of stuff, just as examples that come off the top of my head. And so all these chips are designed to meet the needs of each individual. It's up to you to decide which one meets your needs and your budget. There's no wrong answer here other than you making a bad decision by saying, oh, I don't need that expensive one, I'll buy the cheap one. And then a few months later you're saying, I wish I would have spent the extra $100 because now I'm into digital photography and editing my photos takes forever. Or now I'm making videos. So your needs change. So I'd rather have too much and be able to grow into it as an option rather than have just enough that as my needs change in the future, which I didn't expect to happen, but it's how it happens. Now suddenly my computer's not powerful enough and it'll cost you way more to upgrade it than to just build it right the first time. XRod666 with a $2 super chat says, hey, it's another stream, nice hope thing going good. All right. You think me happy. I appreciate the contribution, XRod. Let me go full screen again over here because I can't see. I'm going to go back over to Windows Update one more time. There shouldn't be more than one more round, maybe not even that. Let's check it out. Download and install. Now, more options. What's under more? Oh, don't care about that. Advanced options. We'll grab updates for other Microsoft products, such as Microsoft Office, if I should install that. We'll check for updates here, and we'll just make sure that we come up with no more updates. And as long as that happens, then I can move on with the Crystal Disk Mark I'll do next. Yep, we got a few more updates coming in. Evolutionary Mishap in the chat room says, talk about doing it right the first time. I'm still running a 4790K with a 980 GPU. And I keep debating if I really want to upgrade. I think this year I may treat myself and do it. Yeah, or wait until 2025. Wait till January 2025 and build yourself a Windows 11 compatible computer with the upgrades you want. Unless you want to go to Windows 11 earlier, or if your computer's just not meeting your needs, or you have some cash burning a hole in your pocket, it just sounds like a fun thing to do. Then, of course, that's up to you when you would do it. But I would certainly do it if you don't by the summertime of 2025. I would definitely do it then. But nothing that you have to do right away. Can I run Crystal Disk Mark while the updates are running? Well, of course I can, but because those updates are utilizing the storage, when I'm measuring the storage performance, it won't be able to show me the true performance possibilities. So the results we get will not be accurate. We need Crystal Disk Mark to run without anything else running if we want those numbers to mean anything at all. Taco wants to know, are mini PCs killing the desktop PC building business? No, not at all. Dell and HP sell hundreds of millions of computers, just those two manufacturers, each and every year. If you go to Google and say how many desktop PCs did Dell and HP, or how many were sold, it's somewhere around 300 million most years. We had a lot of sales of PCs that were unexpected because of the pandemic. So a lot of people don't need a new PC because they already bought one just a year or two ago. So we're seeing a slump in PC sales because we saw a boost in PC sales earlier. So it all has to level out sooner or later. And then after a little while, after a couple of years, then we'll probably see another boost in PC sales again. It depends on the needs of the user. These solutions, such as laptops, mini PCs, and desktops, these solutions do not apply to everybody. Some people absolutely cannot use a laptop. Some people cannot use a mini PC, and some people cannot use a desktop. And it varies depending on what their needs are and what their budget is. And there's no right answer. It's like suggesting if plant-based foods are replacing non-plant-based foods. To some extent, for some people that maybe have a plant-based diet, but overall, no, there's always going to be meat and dairy available, at least in my lifetime, probably in yours, and that just adds more options and alternatives for people for whatever dietary reasons they have. That's all. It's just more options. A lot of people I see on the internet are what I call absolutists. They think if one thing applies in one way, then it applies that way for everyone all the time. But life is rarely ever that black or white. If we say the optimal body temperature of a human being is 98.6 degrees, does that mean all living things should be at 98.6 degrees? Because if my dog's temperature, body temperature, was at 98.6, I'd probably need to take him to a vet. So there are different expectations on different things. We can't just throw a blanket over the entire world and say this one thing applies to everyone all the time. That would be a very communistic way to live. I wouldn't like it. I like the expression of freedom, and I like the option of choice. So if you don't like the options of choice, Apple's available. Apple will make all these decisions for you and charge you a premium. Limit your options so it's easier for you to make a decision. You can have A, B, or C, and that's all you get. There's no competitors. They charge whatever they want, and they take care of everything for you. If that's what you like, Apple would be a great option for you. If you like to have choices, a lot of choices, and you like to express yourself, and you want to be able to have control over how much of your budget is going into RAM or storage, you have much more choice and much more freedom in the world of PCs. And that includes laptops and mini PCs, depending on what needs your budget. But nothing's replacing anything. It's just more options that people can use. But you think about going to work. If you go to work, and I'm guessing you don't, or the type of job you have is not an office job. I'm not aware of anybody who goes to work in an office and doesn't sit at a computer. Now, it could be a laptop, but in most cases, they're not using a tablet, they're not using a phone, and they're oftentimes what they're using, more than Apple, they're using PCs in the corporate world, around the world. If you get a job working in an office, you will be working on a PC. I have only run into about a half dozen clients that run these mini PCs. They're not taking the world by storm. They'll expand this. Like I said, we can increase RAM, we can increase storage. That's pretty much it. We can change the Wi-Fi card. So in an office environment where you need email, you need to pay some bill, go on the web, open up Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, and you don't want a lot of space taken up, these are wonderful solutions. but I have never seen an office that only runs these. And most offices don't even have one. I've got one office that has two. I've got another office that has several. All the rest of the offices don't run these at all. And I have some home users that run these, typically as a home theater PC, or they run it in a home office environment. And they just have very little desk space. So it's super handy to just stick that in a corner somewhere, and it doesn't take up all the room of a desktop PC. Kyle wants to know, what would it cost for an Intel i9-13900K, 32 gigs of DDR5, a gigabyte motherboard, a terabyte NVMe, and a power supply and a case? You're probably looking close to, depending on if you're building it yourself, you're about $650 just for the CPU. You're going to need a cooler. Seems silly to put a 1 terabyte NVMe storage in a computer with 32 gigs of RAM and the flagship processor. So for me, I wouldn't do a 1 terabyte NVMe. It doesn't make any sense. But you're probably looking around, if you're using onboard video, $1,200 to $1,500, depending on the case, the power supply. I'd say $1,200 to $1,500. Then you still need a keyboard, mouse, and monitor and speakers. I'm not even including that. But the most expensive Intel consumer-based CPU you can buy, paired with the most expensive consumer-based RAM you can buy, that just alone will set you back almost about $1,000 just for those two parts. And then depending on the motherboard, that could be anywhere from $150 to $600 just for the board. And then on your storage, you could buy a 1 terabyte NVMe drive for $50, but it'll bottleneck your entire system. And I'm talking all US prices. I don't know how that works out if you're not in the US. Oh, it looks like my update's finished. Let me go back over here. We'll check for updates again. We should be clear. I expect no more updates. Very good. And then I'm going to restart. Even though it didn't require it, I'm going to do it anyway, just to make sure when I run my tests that they're accurate. Oops. Let's go over here and restart. Okay, back over to the chat. See if there's other questions I can answer for you guys. Do I have any recommendation for a CPU air cooler for an i7-12700? I prefer a Mugen 5, but I can't get one at this time. I was thinking a Noctua NH-L9. I can't recommend that L9i. I would do the Mugen 5. And if you can't do a Mugen 5, then I would wait until you can. Because there's nothing else I can recommend that's as good of a value that will do as good of a job at that cheap of a price. Anything else is going to cost you more, or it's not going to perform as well. At least the ones that I'm aware of. There are options from Be Quiet. There are options from Noctua. There are options from Cooler Master, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to stick with what I know, with what's reliable. Don't cut corners. You'll regret it. In most cases, you'll regret it later. I don't think the L9i is adequate enough, personally. Taco wants to know, I'm just worried that full-size PC component manufacturers will eventually lose their customers to mini PC buyers and their products will decrease and become more expensive. Yeah, well, I can't compete with your imaginary demons. That's just not the way the world works. Corporate America is what keeps computers alive. Home consumers are getting the leftovers. Everything that they sell to home consumers, the motherboards, the cases, those are the scraps. The bulk of the meal is going to corporate America. And corporate America's needs aren't predicated by your individual feelings of prophecies of failure. It's been this way since I started in 1991, and it will remain this way until people just don't go to work anymore, when there's no more jobs, and we don't need computers and jobs. Consumers are so fickle, and consumers think they're the most important buying category, when in fact, consumers don't make a dent in our global economy compared to what businesses do, and how businesses and corporations steer our economy with their purchasing and hiring of people and salaries along with their expenses, a corporation in one day will spend likely what you will spend in a lifetime or more so. So what consumers do is inconsequential to the world as we know it, which is mostly guided by corporations because of their bigger and regular spending. And that's what drives people's salaries, which then results in them spending the money to get I'm going to call it the scraps. So, but if that's how you feel, then you should absolutely follow your feelings. You don't have to listen to me. I don't care what you do. Do whatever you want. But, you know, I've been hearing this for 30 plus years. People are like, PCs are going away. They're just going away for home users, for consumers. They're not going away for creators or for people who use their computer in business. It's simply not happening, nor will it ever happen. Unless we're going to go back to pen and pencils, this is not going to happen. Not in my lifetime. Probably not in your lifetime either. But if you disagree and that steers you from buying something, so be it. Maybe you're not going to buy a gasoline-powered car because you think gas is going away. Okay, that's fine. Those are your feelings. They're not facts, but they're feelings. All right, now we've got Windows 11 booted up here. I've got my utilities flash drive. Let me reach around back and find a USB port here. And I'll just copy the utilities over. And let me go full screen again on my side so I can see. Here we go. And I'm going to bring over, let's see. I'm going to bring over CPU-Z. I'm going to bring over Crystal Disk Mark Portable. We'll use Crystal Disk Info too, see what the manufacturer is of that drive. And you know what? Let's install the latest VLC. They recently came up with an update. So we'll put that on there just because I prefer that as my media player versus Microsoft's media player. Again, my preference. And I'm just loading that right off the flash drive. Once that's done, we can look at, well, hell, we can do Crystal Disk Info and see who's manufacturer. It's Crystal Disk Mark. Crystal Disk Info. Remember, I've got that SanDisk SSD installed, so it could pull up information on that. It looks like it's a Kingston, 500 gig Kingston. And it is Gen 4. Okay. Let's take a look at what our numbers are on it. We'll run DiskMark. Crystal DiskMark 64-bit on here. We'll make sure we're pointing to the C drive. And let's just run all the tests and see what those numbers are. Well, the test is running. Again, if you have questions for me, I'll do my best to provide answers to you. Rasa wants to know if I would undervolt and also underclock a new Intel or AMD chip. I would not. If you want the computer to run reliably, you leave it alone. Let it run at all the defaults. The minute you start overclocking or underclocking and you're trying to outsmart the engineers, well, that's your path to go down. And when you have problems, not going to be much I can do to help you besides telling you to put it back the way it's supposed to be. So what you're doing is a hobbyist activity. You would never do that in corporate America. And if you did, you'd probably get fired for it. Lucas wants to know if computers from Chinese companies like Beelink can be trusted given the surveillance issue of Chinese tech companies like Huawei or TikTok. Well, I can't tell you who to trust. But, you know, the operating system is the operating system. So do you trust your ISP? Do you trust your cell phone provider? Do you trust, you know, this is a very unhealthy sort of, and we're talking about my opinion here. This is a very unhealthy paranoia that's being fed by the media into your minds to scare you. That's why you spend money to protect yourself from things that have never ever happened to you. So how many times has your data been stolen, and what would the Chinese do with your data? What would they do? Hey, I've got this random stranger that's online. I've got their web browsing history. I got news for you. Google probably has it. Your ISP probably has it. Your cell phone provider probably has it. It's not worth really anything other than to sell you things. You're not a particular interest to anybody of that level. These are just automated processes. So when it comes to the fear of TikTok and things like that, and we got some very strange paranoia happening, in my opinion, in our country. Now, you know, what is TikTok going to do because I've posted a 30-second or a 90-second video up on TikTok of silliness? What are they going to do with that? Suddenly now I've exposed the nuclear launch codes. Suddenly now they care who Carrie Holzman. They don't care who Carrie Holzman is. Unless you're a public figure or a politician, your data is absolutely just being used through automation to try and sell you things. They think a person that does what you do online, the places you visit and the things you buy, would likely want to buy this. It's also used as an echo chamber to tell you what you want to hear versus telling you an unbiased truth, because telling you what you want to hear generates more clicks. So that's up to you. If you don't want to buy that, if you're worried about Chinese companies, pretty much almost everything we buy in America is made in China. Apple products are made in China. Now, look, some of the manufacturing is being moved. I think Apple's moving their manufacturing out of China. And I think they're going to Vietnam or Thailand. But I don't think paranoia is healthy. And unless you've had an experience that justifies it, then all you're doing is getting your mind poisoned by what you're reading and seeing online. That's up to you to control that. That's your own free will, how you allow that to alter your perspective on life. I think it's preposterous and ridiculous. And I don't think anybody really cares about your data. I really don't. When you're a celebrity or a politician, that changes. But you have something called security through obscurity because nobody knows who you are, and they really don't care. They just want to sell you stuff. That's all it's about. It's just about money. So, and in the echo chamber, well, that's about just showing you what you want to see to fuel a propagation or agenda. It's been going on forever. It's all, psyops have been going on for long before I was born. It's just more of the same. At the end of the day, you choose to believe what you want to believe. Facts be damned, right? Because that's the world we live in now. So no, I don't worry about it. Nothing bad has ever happened to me because of a Chinese company. Has anything bad happened to you because of a Chinese company? So what justification do you have? You're just getting your mind poisoned, in my opinion, through the media. And then you're further propagating it to other people. So you're part of it. All right. It does, in fact, do 7,000 megabytes per second on the reads. Checks out. And almost 4,000 on the writes. I'll tell you what, that's really impressive, especially at this price point. And we do have that DDR5, but let's just make sure we have DDR5. Let me go back into full screen mode here so I can see what I'm doing. And let's bring up CPU-Z and get the details on that, RAM and other specifications. So double click on that. Again, these are all portable applications. I don't want to install anything on this computer unless, like VLC. I'll leave it up to the customer to put whatever applications they want. So for memory, DDR5. And how is that installed? Is it 2 sticks of 16? 4,000 speed? Right on. Very cool. Very cool. Graphics, we've got that AMD Radeon, is that RDNA 2 built-in graphics built into the CPU. It's very capable for 1080 gaming, really is. And then there's our specifications overall for our CPU and our motherboard. CPU-Z is a great utility where I can see a lot about the internals of a computer without having to open it. But you know me, I'm still going to open it. So let's do that now. We'll shut this down. Oops, still used to Windows 10. Go over here and we'll shut down. And then we'll take the back off of it and we'll get the close-up camera over here and we'll see what that looks like. Let me just go full screen. This keyboard, full screen. Turn that off. We turn this one on. And let me take out the flash drive, and let me take out HDMI, the internet cord, and the power plug. We don't want to open it with the power plug plugged in, just for safety reasons. And we'll turn it over onto its belly. I guess I can take the keyboard dongle out of there. Oh, it's a keyboard and mouse dongle. And then we'll bring the close-up camera up here. And I need, I hope, a Phillips screwdriver. Yes, I need a Phillips screwdriver. I'll use this one. I'm gonna need my glasses so's I can sees. And are you ready? Okay, come on over. All right, so here's the bottom of the unit. These are the screws that mount that VESA bracket right here. I'm going to take out unscrew rather. One screw in each corner. Now, if you go to YouTube and you search for this computer on YouTube, there are other content creators that have loaded games with the temperatures and frames per second and game settings overlaid onto the gameplay, so you can get a better idea of what gameplay is like. I'm not one for games myself. I just don't have time. If I'm going to be doing work, I want to get paid for it. I don't want to pay so I can work for free, which is essentially the way I see gaming. It looks like to remove this fan, where's this fan getting air from? That's a solid panel. That's not breathable. I guess there's just a little gap right here. I'm not quite sure this is really doing much, but okay, it's fine. We're going to take out this screw here, if I can see it. Let me do these over here because I can see these. We got one in the corner here. Boy, it's almost like this screwdriver is just a little bit too big for this. I need a more precise driver. I will pull out my little toolkit from iFixit. It'll be ideal for this, I think. Here's an iFixit Mako precision bit set. And as you can tell from my OCD, I keep everything like it's never been used before, which is really kind of stupid sometimes, but at least it's all complete and I know where things are, usually, when I go to utilize them. So we'll take this and we'll take maybe this one, just like so. And can I get that in there? Yes. Could actually go a little bit bigger on my bit. Let's do something a little bit bigger. Ah, much better. So there appears to be 3 screws holding this in. I want to separate those from the others just in case they're a different width or length. So one in each corner at the back of the computer. Oh, it has Loctite on it. And then there's one in the middle. And that should allow us to remove this cover. And for the most part, that should be all the depth you need to take this apart for any upgrades. So I'll come back over here. See how this comes up. Assuming I haven't left out a screw. I feel like something's still holding it in. Let me grab a straight edge screwdriver. What is holding us in? Don't force anything when you're taking something apart, especially for the first time. I don't see anything else holding us in. Oh, okay. It looks like maybe there's some thermal material that's, yeah, that's exactly what it is. There's thermal tape that was making it a bit sticky to remove. Now, let me turn this in your direction, folks. And you can see we've got name brand memory. It's crucial. SODIMM DDR5. We've got our NVMe slot with our Kingston PCIe 4.0 500 gig KC3000 is the model. We have another M.2 slot, but that's only SATA based, not NVMe. So we can either pull this one out to replace with a bigger unit, or we can add another unit here that is a 2280, so 22 millimeters wide, 80 millimeters long. This is our Wi-Fi card here. And as I've learned from the previous video, if we want to take this board out and look at the other side where the CPU and cooler are, then we want to disconnect the antennas first, because I had to resolder one of the antenna wires on last time. So or just take this card and unscrew it and set it off to the sides so that you don't pull the antenna wire out like I did. Lesson learned, now I know better. Interestingly, we've got some QR codes with information here regarding the components, but super easy to upgrade. You know, if we want to put 64 gigs in there, if we want to upgrade to Wi-Fi 7 later, if we want to upgrade to bigger storage or add more storage while keeping this storage, we have that option as well, as long as it's SATA. Pretty simple design. That's our CR2032 CMOS battery right there. And that should have a lifespan of 5 to 8 years without needing to be replaced. And it really only kicks in when you've unplugged the power cable. As long as the power cable's plugged in, even if the computer is off, that battery really doesn't do much of anything. But if you have the computer unplugged, like while it's sitting in the box, let's say I put this back in its box, stick it in the garage and forget about it a couple of years, that battery will likely be dead by then. And that's all there is to it. I'm not going to pull this one apart like I did the other one. I'm a little gun shy now that I yanked these little antenna cables are so fine. You see there's a black one and a gray one. And they pull off of here. Or I have to take the card out and just simply set the card aside. Then I can take out that screw, that screw, that screw, and that screw. There's 4 screws there. And then this whole piece should lift up on an angle and pull out. And that's how you can get to the CPU side of things. But there's nothing user serviceable on that side. I suppose if you wanted to blow out the fans and replace the thermal compound in a few years, then that would justify that level of disassembly. But most people will never need to do that. The people who do that often do it because they have nothing else to do. They're just bored. When there's an actual problem you're trying to solve, like a fan dies or it's starting to overheat, then of course that would justify taking it apart to that level. However, it very rarely happens in real life. Sometimes people just want it to run a little cooler. They're just looking for an excuse to open it up. And as long as you're careful with it, there's no reason not to. I'm just not in the mood to go through the hassle of the little Wi-Fi antennas. I just don't want to have to break out my soldering iron again. But you can look at the other Beelink video. It's going to come apart the same exact way. But this is the area that you're most likely going to need to get into. So I thought maybe it had a 2.5-inch storage bay, but it does not. And then that just sits right back down on there. I really wonder how much that's actually doing. But there's no sense trying to outsmart the engineers here. I would recommend you leave it alone apart from storage or RAM upgrades. I would leave it alone if you want it to last and you want it to run reliably. I would not overclock it. I would not underclock it. If you wish to do that, enjoy yourself. I have work to do, so playing around like that it's too costly. I lose too much revenue. Some people think it's just a lot of fun to toy with, and hey, you absolutely can do that. But I don't earn a living from that. I can earn a living from fixing computers from people who have done that and got in over their heads. But that's all there is to this, and this probably only goes on one way. See how it's not sitting right? And if we turn it around this way, you shouldn't have to force anything. The minute you're forcing something, you're likely doing something wrong and you need to stop, slow down, take a look at what's causing the friction. But it's super easy to get into. That little plastic rubber pull tab is pretty handy to have that removable. And as it comes stock at this $800 price point, I think it's a great deal for the amount of power that you're getting. The fact it's got 4 HDMI outputs is very impressive. So we can have 4 monitors hooked up to this thing and stretch them all out to one huge desktop if we want to. I imagine if you want to change this out to the red one, to the red felt, I imagine we might have to take the motherboard out to do that. That might be in the owner's manual if I would bother to read it. What did I do with it? I set it down somewhere, didn't I? Let me put this away and clear out some desk space. Okay, this can be put away. And I'm going to find what I did with the documentation. I think I put it back in the box, didn't I? Let's see. Let's look at it together. VESA mount installation guide in several languages. Upgrading the RAM and SSD. In a bunch of different languages. Well, I don't see anything about changing that felt cover out. Looks like there's little clips on the back of it. It may be possible that we just pop this out. Maybe if we use a spudger tool, we can get to the side of it and just pop it out so we don't have to take the whole thing apart to switch it out. I'm surprised I don't see that in the documentation. I have this little iFixit spudger tool right here. Just kind of curious which way the tabs would go if I would bring it up one way or the other, and I don't want to score the edge of that up. This is such a nice PC, I really don't want to score it. I'm sure that this pops up. I'm sure it does. Just not quite sure what the angle of attack is here. It's going to go on like that. Then these little clips. Some little tiny clips, if you look very closely, that are in one particular direction. And if we pry it up in the proper direction, it should be a lot easier. It's looking to me like we would come in at the back. And you got to be gentle with these because they're plastic, right? So you don't want to apply too much force, but that just pops off like that. And we could certainly just do that to clean this fan with an air duster, therefore negating, justifying taking it apart just to clean this area. And then this one can just pop on. You just push it down. It should snap into place. I didn't hear it click or anything, but it almost felt like that was too easy. So now you got that black and red scheme. Again, I wouldn't want that to stand out in a home theater. I would prefer the black myself, but it's nice they throw that in there, even though I personally wouldn't use it. It's super easy to pop it out and change it out. Oh yeah, it's in there. It's definitely seated well. It's not coming out by itself, even though it felt to me when I plugged it in like it wasn't clicking, but clearly it has clicked into position. And I want to be very careful with the spudger. I don't want to score anything up. Oh yeah, look how good that's in. It didn't feel like it went in that strong, but clearly it did. Once again, be gentle with how you pop these off. I'll put this one back on. Yeah, that one I feel clicking. Super easy. There you go. All right, let me look in the chat and see if we have any other questions. Let's get these tools put away. And I'll go back to camera 1. There we go, camera 1's on. All right, let's see what we got going on in the chat room. Matt Zoloff wants to know if sending a contribution via PayPal still works. Yes, of course. He says, I haven't heard from you lately. That's okay, maybe busy. I haven't seen anything from you via PayPal in quite some time. So I'm not quite sure the last time you've contributed that way, but yeah, it's been a while. If you haven't heard from me, then I haven't received it. You should have a record of anything you've sent when you log into PayPal and look at your summary of recent activity and verify that you sent that to the correct email address. I've received your contributions before, so I don't know when the last time you've contributed is, but if you email me and let me know, I can look it up and verify it. Maybe I got it and I didn't see it, but usually I see them. And I do appreciate your contribution, of course. Mike Podekowicz wants to know, on an Intel-based motherboard, would you buy an AMD or an NVIDIA GPU, or does it really matter? It's like asking where if you should go to Arco for your gas, or Shell or Chevron. It doesn't matter what, because I drive a Ford or I drive a whatever. Yeah, it's all interchangeable. It doesn't matter. Now, personally, I don't care for AMD graphics cards, particularly their drivers. Their latest, what is it, 7900 seems like it's kind of a ripoff to me. Although the 40 series from NVIDIA kind of feels like a ripoff too. But I will always use NVIDIA cards. If you watch the channel regularly, the only time I've used an AMD graphics card, or the last time I used one, was on the original Threadripper build because I wanted to keep it all AMD, even though that particular video card was well overpriced, super heavy, and underperforms compared to the comparable NVIDIA models that were out at the time that would have gone. They were lighter, they were cheaper, and they performed better. But I did it anyway to just keep it all AMD. I mean, it still works, and I haven't had any driver-related issues with it, but I'm also not gaming with it, and streaming doesn't require much. So, but that's just my personal opinion, but you can buy whichever. It doesn't matter if what your CPU is. Is enabling XMP a good idea after installing RAM to gain optimal performance? Most people will never notice it. So if it makes you feel better to look at it, you could also end up with a computer that starts crashing. The memory controllers are built onto the CPUs. So if you have XMP memory that's not compatible, it's not working correctly at its right speed, it's likely the CPU lottery that's the problem and not the RAM. A lot of people don't know this. They'll send their RAM back because it's not running at 3200 or it's not running at 3600. Something's wrong with it. No, it's your CPU. You got a finicky memory controller. That's just the way the CPU lottery goes. Just as some CPUs are more overclockable of the exact same model, it's just a roll of the dice. I'm not aware of XMP really making any noticeable difference to consumers. Some gamers on the AMD platform will notice a few frames per second improvement. And as long as your system's not crashing, hey, turn it on. Even if you don't notice it, if it makes you feel good to turn it on, turn it on. But if you turn it on and your system starts acting weird, then there's an incompatibility there and just shut it off. It's not worth the little tiny percentage gain you're going to get. Certainly not on an Intel platform. The gain, if it's going to be noticeable at all, will be on the AMD platform, where it's called DOCP. It's AMD's version of the Extreme Memory Profile. That's an Intel thing, XMP. I wouldn't bother, honestly. You can't tell the difference. At least, again, I'm not gaming and my clients aren't gaming. And if you can tell a difference, it's going to be very, very minor. And if your system starts crashing as a consequence, well, that's one heck of a performance improvement, isn't it? I wouldn't be bothered. But again, what home users do, they're just trying to eke out all this power that's probably more powerful than they're ever going to use. I wish people would have this attitude with their own health. I wish that they eked out every bit of performance in exercise and mobility and action versus trying to eke out more performance out of a machine that's got more horsepower likely than they will ever use. But there's always exceptions, and there are hobbyists and people that just want to see how far they can push the limits, because just like people climbing Mount Everest, there's no real good reason to do that. It's just, I'll risk my life and spend all this money for the personal challenge of it. Well, that's fine. But most people are never ever going to do that. So to make a video telling people how to climb Mount Everest, the number of people that would benefit would be a very, very tiny fraction of a percentage to the number of people that view it. So my content is really designed to be at the average customer. There are plenty of other enthusiast YouTube channels that will make a big deal out of XMP and overvolting and undervolting and overclocking, and that's all hobbyist activity. Nothing in corporate America you would never do that in corporate America. So as a professional in the industry, you wouldn't be performing these hobbyist activities. But if you want to, have at it, man. That's your own personal decision. How can you tell the difference between SATA and M.2 NVMe sockets? Well, simply put, the NVMe drives, their notch is in a different location. You cannot plug an NVMe drive into a SATA-only M.2 slot. It won't go in. And an NVMe-only slot will not accept a SATA drive unless it's a SATA compatible. Like, there are some M.2 slots that'll take either or, and they're designed differently than M.2 SATA only or NVMe only. So the best way you can tell is to read the owner's manual. Go to the manufacturer of the motherboard or of the computer, you go to their website, you look up that model, and oftentimes it'll be etched on the circuit board right by the M.2 slot what it is. That would be the best way to instead of like looking at the details of where the notch is. I've got a video, one of my most popular videos, that's titled The Difference Between SATA and M.2. And the people who leave comments like, well, they're both M.2, aren't understanding the audience that video is for a general audience who, that's not the way their brain works. So they're going to ask that question. They're not going to say, well, M.2 is the interface. And then there's the protocol. Look, this is not for ordinary people, that kind of level of technical information. So I will make videos that are worded and phrased the way a regular non-computer person would say, you know. And how do I know? Because I work with them every day in my job. So that's why that video has so many views. So these people that come in and they think they're smarter than everybody else by correcting me that the title is wrong, they're totally missing the point. That's why I have not retitled it. And that's why it gets so many views. But it does showcase in that video the difference in SATA ports and NVMe ports, if you're interested. But the manual for the motherboard, in the case of like building your own, or in a pre-built, go to the pre-built manual, and it will specify in the manuals which slot is which, or if you can use either one. Some allow you to use either one, and they auto-detect and auto-sense. Is the CPU soldered on? Yes. Yes, it is. Greg wants to know if the fan blowing down is pulling air in via the side vents. More than likely, yes, because the side vents go from top to bottom on this thing. Oh, no, they don't. They're right in the middle. But it's not airtight, so the air's probably moving around. I don't think that fan's doing much, but it's not hurting to have it there, so I would just leave it alone. The engineers have put it in for a reason. Dawkins wants to know how much would an equivalent desktop PC cost compared to the mini PC? Well, you've got to buy a case, you've got to buy a power supply, you've got to buy the RAM, you've got to buy the storage, you've got to buy the motherboard, you've got to buy the cooler. So you're likely looking 32 gigs of RAM, you're likely looking $800 to $1,000. Kelly Stewart says, good afternoon, Carrie. I am watching you on a mini computer on a 22-inch computer monitor. Just trying to give them a try and evaluate them. Just want to use them for basic computing work. Yeah, well, like I said, this one will do gaming. That's the most powerful mini computer I think I've had here on the channel. I have yet to see any 13th gen. In fact, I don't even think Dell has 13th gen XPS laptops. So the amount of power it has in this package is very, very impressive. Those 4 HDMI outs are incredible. I've never seen that on a mini PC before. Doesn't mean it doesn't existed before. I just personally haven't encountered it till now, and I'm impressed by that. Sarge Tech says he's watching me on a 10-foot projector screen. Cool. Is PC Build Simulator a viable tool to learn PC repair? No, it's completely useless. That's just for entertainment. It's not like you can put parts in upside down, and you're not physically plugging in any connectors. So much goes wrong with a computer that PC Build Simulator has no concept of relaying that information with the fact that you've got cables not plugged in all the way, or certain cables not plugged in at all. And we talk about things like the PC power switch, reset switch, hard drive LED, power LED. These can be put on the wrong places. They can be put on backwards. The whole point of building a PC is much more than just dragging a mouse across the screen. You have to actually pick the parts up, orient them in the right direction, install them in the right place, and secure them with screws. You're not really doing any of that with PC Build Simulator. It represents about 15% of the build process. 85% is going to come from actual experience. Just because you can use PC Build Simulator doesn't... Look, let me put it to you this way. Run a 2-wheel bicycle simulator. Learn how to ride a bicycle with 2 wheels, not training wheels. Learn how to ride a bicycle using a simulator. And then when you feel you've got it, go get on a bicycle for the very first time and let me know if that helped you in any way figure out how to balance. It's just an entertainment toy. It's very, very much unlike reality. So no, it is pretty much useless as far as reality goes in training to become a PC tech. It's just a game. That's all it is. It's not reality. Master Singleton said that mini PC is an amazing feat of engineering. It is, isn't it? I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed with it, and I think it's a fair price at $800 for everything you're getting. I mean, just price out how much 32 gigs of DDR5 is. Plus, you got the operating system in there. You're paying for that separately as well if you're building your own computer. Winston Liu contributes via Super Chat, $2 Canadian. He says, I sent you PayPal Canadian Mannies now? What's a Manny? Let me take a look at my email. Let's see if there's some stuff that's come in that I haven't noticed. $20 comes in via Winston Liu. Thank you, Winston. That's it. That's all I've missed. Okay. Yeah, nothing. I don't see anything from you, Mats Olaf. I think, you know what? Let me pull up my email again and just do a quick search. Looks like the last thing I got from you was September 17th. You sent a PayPal contribution of $20. And you said, hi, Carrie, I was watching you, or rather listening to you on my mobile yesterday. Oh, how surprised I was when you mentioned my name. Now you know where I live too, Sweden. I worked with an old HP at the same time, cleaning and reinstallation for a dear colleague from the past. Yeah, you know, the usual stuff. Succeeded really well. Here's my contribution as I promised in the chat if I wasn't too late. Have a really nice holiday and see you next time. And that's from Mats Olaf. Well, if I haven't said it before, thank you for that. And yeah, September 17th. And then prior to that, May 5th. So, and I appreciate it. I appreciate your support, your kind words, and your contribution, of course. So I think it's cool to have viewers in Norway and Sweden and Germany and England and Canada and Australia and New Zealand. And sometimes we see folks from Japan and Thailand. And it's just really neat. Daco with £1.99 super chat contribution. Right on, Daco. Appreciate that, and I appreciate all your questions today as well. Chando says, me working on a computer would be like me working on a car. I'd lose half the tools and end up with bloody knuckles. Hey, no Band-Aids today. That's pretty good. I must be getting better. I do have a link in the video notes below the video for this computer. You'll also see links for RoboForm. There's still a discount till the end of the year, 60% off RoboForm. That makes it under $10. That applies to new RoboForm customers only. Our Acronis discount is 40% off with the coupon code CarrieHolzman 2022. I think that applies to any Acronis purchase, new customer or not. 40% off coupon code CarrieHolzman 2022. Good until the end of the year, same as the RoboForm offer. And of course, the Windows and Office license keys from VIP CDK deals, always at a discount all year round. Please don't buy them well in advance of needing it. Wait till you need it to buy it. So if you have any problems with the activation, you're going to get customer service. They're going to guarantee that key works. But if you wait 30 days or more before you use that key, and if you have a problem with it, you're likely not going to get any customer service. And that's pretty much true of anything you buy, anywhere you buy it. So that's the reason why I keep that deal 24/7 on this channel, is that you have it available to you when you need it. If you ever run into any problems, just reach out to their customer service and they will help you. If you're still not satisfied, then reach out to me personally and I will make it right. Whatever I have to do, if it means I'm going to refund your money personally, or they're going to refund your money when I talk to them, or they're going to get you a product code that works. It almost always works trouble-free, but every once in a while, we have customers that either buy the wrong thing, or they're not activating it the right way, or aren't activating the right kind of code for their product. In a lot of these cases, almost half of the time, it's the consumer who made a mistake. That's okay. You're allowed to make mistakes, but they get angry like they got ripped off, and that's not the case. So most people, more than 99% of you, are going to buy the key, activate it, everything's going to go fine. Fewer than 1% of you will have an issue, and when you do, reach out to their customer service. 75, 80% of the time, they take care of that. And then 20% of those may come to me. So I think I've had 6 people reach out to me over the course of over a year, which is a very tiny fraction of the number of people who have purchased those keys. And they've all been completely satisfied with regards to either getting a working key, resolving whatever the issue was, or just simply giving them their money back. So you have peace of mind for any sponsor that I'm promoting here on the channel, that there's a guarantee. RoboForm has a free trial. Acronis has a free trial. The folks over at Instant House Call, well, we're not doing any particular sale. It's a very inexpensive product, and it's really designed for technicians doing remote repair work. 15-day free trial. So you get to try these things fully functioning to decide if it's worth you buying. Acronis free trial. Try it out. Don't just take my word and my enthusiasm for the product, because you may not have the same needs I have. Except for RoboForm. I think everybody could benefit from RoboForm, even if it's just the free version. You know, you can download RoboForm and use it for free. It just won't synchronize, and so you can have it on one computer. And I think once you get used to using it, you'll want to buy it. And for under $10, using that the link we have, there's no coupon code. It's just the link, roboform.com/promo/carry, I think is what the link is, but it's in the video notes. It's good till the end of the year. It's a steal. It's under $1 a month. I see Richard has been a member now for 6 months. Right on, Richard. Thank you for supporting the channel. Acronis is in the house. Oh, I didn't even see that. Hello, that's Begowden. Hey, Begowden, good to see you, my friend. Acronis says, Kerry Holzman can confirm applies to all customers, both old and new. Oh, the discount code, yes. It's only the RoboForm that's for new customers only. The newly purchased license will be added to the existing one if you're already a RoboForm subscriber. If you're already an Acronis subscriber and you want to take advantage of the 40% off and extend your subscription, yes, that's what Acronis is saying. You absolutely can do that. It's only RoboForm this year that's saying new customers only. Nobody else, just RoboForm. John Williams says, Kerry, I have bought a lot of those software keys using your link for CDK deals, and I've been totally satisfied 100%. Richard says, can I join the blue crew? Well, you're already green, Richard. But you want to be blue? I'll make you blue. Sure. There you go. Welcome to blue. Is being a Navy SEAL a good job? How would I know? I've never been a Navy SEAL. Ask a Navy SEAL and see what they tell you. If you guys have questions for Acronis, they are in the chat room. Just put the @ symbol with the word Acronis, followed by the question you have. If you've asked a question that I haven't addressed, I probably haven't seen it, go ahead and put it back in the chat room right now. We are running, how are we on time here? Oh, we've already gone over 2 hours? How did that happen? All right, we'll wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. I missed a contribution for our good friend Madi. Madi Yoel contributed $10. He says, hey, Kerry, thank you for the work. And carry on. Right on, Madi. Well, thank you for that. I'm sorry I missed that earlier. Did I miss anybody else? Mike Ladd contributed $10. I think I said that already. Of course, Planet Cryos with $3. XRod666 contributed $2 in Super Chat twice. Taco with £1.99. Winston Liu with $2 Canadian and the PayPal contribution. XRod666 has been a member for 7 months. That's since the beginning of memberships. He says, I bought the Netgear AX6600, that used one that you talked about the other day, for 140 bucks. Should be 130, maybe after sales tax. He says, I'm going to give it a try and see if it works better than my laptop's router. Oh, my ISP's router. Hey, you know what? I think it's a great idea. Decide for yourself, because with Amazon, returns are super easy. So when I'm talking about, even buying this computer from Amazon, if it doesn't meet your needs, you can send it back to Amazon. You've got at least a 30-day return period with Amazon here in the USA. And during December, they extend that return period to the end of January in case you're planning to give it as a gift. So the person that you give it to may not get it until Christmas. And then you've got New Year's and you got the holidays and businesses are closed. So, and maybe they want a little time with it to evaluate it. So they have a few weeks to make up their mind and they can send it back. With returns at Amazon, it's super easy. You always have that peace of mind. I'm not the salesman twisting your arm saying, you got to buy this, you got to hurry up, buy it today. I will tell you these coupon codes that we have for things like Acronis and RoboForm, they're only for a limited time, okay? We can't just offer that 24/7, 12 months a year, or it's no longer a special. In order for it to be special, it has to have a limited engagement. And that's when you take advantage of it, okay? When it comes to any of the software, they always have free trials or sometimes free versions. So you can decide for yourself. The last thing I want to do is convince you to buy something. I want to convince you to try it. That's all I want to do. Just try it. People are like, why would I need to replace my 5-year-old router? It's fine. I'm not having any problems. Okay, then you replace your router with a new one just to try it, and everything's faster. And you're like, oh, I didn't realize how slow everything was. I didn't know. I was happy with what I had because that's all I knew. I had a customer who said, I don't have broadband, I have dial-up. Why do you have dial-up? Well, because I don't really do anything on the internet. So why would I need broadband? Okay, well that's why you don't do anything on the internet, is because you have dial-up. If you had broadband, you'd do more with it. What would I do? You have to get it and see. I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to use it a lot more. It's like somebody says, I don't own a car because I never go anywhere. No, you never go anywhere because you don't own a car. So there's this weird mentality that goes on. And the one that bothers me the most are the people that say, I don't need that. What I've got is fine. And what they've got is, 10 years old. So they don't know any better. They have nothing to compare it to. So the minute once you can convince them to at least try, just try it. Worst case scenario, you don't notice any difference at all. It was a waste of money. Send it back and get your money back, okay? But more than likely what's going to happen is they're going to say, holy cow, everything's happening faster now. And like in the case of Wi-Fi, the range is much further. I'm so glad I listened to you. That's usually the response I get. I think Sarge Tech bought that $25 router at Amazon. I'm like, hey, don't expect much from a $25 router. And he came back in and said, are you kidding me, Kerry? This $25 router is so much more powerful than my old router, and it's more than I need. You really undersold this, Kerry. But his needs are obviously very simple for a $25 router to make that big of an improvement. And again, if it didn't make that improvement, he could have sent it back to Amazon for his 25 bucks back. I am remembering that right? It was Sarge Tech. This depends on your needs. But yeah, brand new router for 25 bucks, it cost me that much, cost me nearly that much for 2 people to eat at McDonald's. And this is a router you're going to have for years? Master Singleton says, thanks for another great stream. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me, Master Singleton. And thanks out to Acronis for hanging out in our chat room today and answering your Acronis-related questions. Don't forget, there is an Acronis Reddit forum for ongoing support. If you have any questions, whether you're an Acronis customer or not, you can always visit the Reddit forum for Acronis. and ask any questions or participate in any discussions that go on there. That's open 24/7, 365. Completely cost-free. So those the router that they're talking about, that $130 Netgear Wi-Fi 6 router, I think they were down to 3 left earlier today. They had over 20 of them. And I thought, you know, when I introduced you guys to that steal of a bargain for that router, it's a $400 router, at least it was when I bought it. Brand new these days, it's $230. So to get a returned router that may not be in the original box or have the documentation, but it does have the power adapter, it may say it's got a imperfection on it. I've never seen an imperfection on any of these return goods. And they always have worked. At $100 off, at the $130 price point, a Wi-Fi 6 router that has beamforming, that was a $400 router. I thought you guys were going to buy those up before that video ended. And yet for days they've been available for sale. And I'm shaking my head going, oh man, someone's going to watch this video 2 months from now or a year from now. And they're going to say, oh man, I wish I would have seen that video. I would have bought that. The good news is you can always check Amazon for used and returned product. I've shown you how to do that by going to the Amazon page and just scrolling down. Let's just check it out real quick right now while we're live here. Let me go back to my screen share, and then after this we'll probably wrap things up. So this is the router I'm talking about is the RAX120, and usually the first two are sponsored links. Yep, sponsored. So our first search result right here is the RAX120. Covers up to 3,500 square feet, folks. $232 new. I paid $400 for it 2 years ago. And it's still, of all the routers I've tested, I'm going back to this one. The Wi-Fi 6E is a waste of money for me, and it adds about $150 onto the cost of a router to get that 6 gigahertz band, which I don't have anything, well, supposedly this computer, this little Beelink computer, I think is 6E, but that would be like the only thing 6E besides my phone, and my phone doesn't benefit from that. Now, you see this gray box here? That's not where you need to look. You need to go 2 more boxes down. 1 box, 2 box. New and used. If there are new and used available, you may not even have a new or used option on all product pages. So it's still showing they're in stock at $130, which is crazy. So if I add this to the cart and I go to the cart, it should tell me how many are in stock. There's 12 left in stock. I can't believe you guys haven't bought these up. That's just mind-blowing to me. Right now, the router I'm evaluating is this Asus ROG Rapture, which is Wi-Fi 6. It seems to give me a little better range than the Netgear, but not by much, and it's significantly more money. And my Netgear still transfers files to the attached USB drive much, much faster. But this router would be in second place to that Netgear with a little better range. And I bought this as a returned item. So I scroll down, again, ignore the gray box, go 2 more boxes, 1, 2, new and used. Again, it's $100 off. Make sure you're buying from Amazon Warehouse for that peace of mind on returns. So these are all from Amazon Warehouse here. This whole used acceptable, that just may mean it doesn't come in the box or documentation, but you will get the router, the power adapter, and a Ethernet cable. That may be all you get. And you still have the same return policy with Amazon Warehouse. If it's sourced from anybody else, like this place here, look at their ratings and read their return policies. Look at these ratings. They might charge a restocking fee. You might have to pay to return it. So anytime I'm buying what they're calling used or open box, I always make sure for my peace of mind that it's coming from Amazon Warehouse. That way, if I don't want it for any reason, I can send it back with zero cost and no restocking fees. Unless, of course, like I'm not sending it back with the power adapter or something that prevents Amazon from reselling it. So $236 is about $100 off. And that's a great price. But $130 isn't even, that's an even better price. Holy cow, $130 for that. And there's 12 of them left. I'm so disappointed you guys haven't sold this out. You don't know how much better your Wi-Fi can be. If you have a router that's more than 5 years old, and I'm really pushing this hard because I'd hate for somebody else to get the deal. I want my viewers to get this deal. Snatch this up. I'm telling you, it's a bargain. I mean, look at this router here. You want to spend $699 for this monstrosity? No way. There's no way I would do that. And it's not going to give me likely any better range or any better performance than that router, that open box router, $130. But then again, I don't have fiber optic coming into the house. I don't have 10 gig. I don't use 2.5 gig. And I don't really use Wi-Fi 6E. And you're paying for that. Just Wi-Fi 6E adds about $150 to the cost of the router. And then adding 10 gigabit ports, having 2 of them, that's probably adding another $200 onto the price of the router. So that's why you're paying that kind of money. If you don't have any use for that, why are you spending all that money? Where you can get a router at a fraction of the price that will effectively give you the same or equivalent range and performance for your existing Wi-Fi devices. Gordon Ma-Ung from PC World Magazine came in the chat room the other day, and when I was evaluating the TP-Link router, which is a couple $100 less than this with the same specifications, more or less. And he's like, hey, that would be great for my fiber internet. I need the 10 gig ports. Well, of course, Gordon needs the 10 gig. Of all people, right? He writes for PC World Magazine. But most ordinary folks wouldn't utilize this yet. Give it a few years, maybe. But for right now, you'd be like an early adopter into that technology, and you're going to pay handsomely for that. Yeah, that's a heck of a deal on this Wi-Fi 6 router from Netgear. And again, all these routers I've been testing, all it's doing is making me like this one better. That's the one I've been using here in Studio B since I started. And it was $400 when I bought it. I feel like I should buy them just to have spares. But I really want you guys to take advantage of that deal. Sarge Tech with $2 says, I wish I could give more. Thanks. Hey, you just being here and participating in the chat is giving enough. I appreciate you, Sarge Tech. Thank you. Prasoon Suresh with £8.99. Thank you, Prasoon. Jason says, I'm out of cash. Sorry, I can't donate or buy anything until the 1st. Hey, you know, we've all been there, man. It's all good. We're happy to have you here. K. Cordius Technology says, I got one. You'll have to let me know what you think about it, K. Cordius. I'd be curious what your, you fix computers for a living, so I'd be very curious what your professional opinion is. Why Davey says, good evening from Wales in the UK, where it is a cold 3 degrees. Bring it on. I would love that. Martin Hogg says it's currently 6 degrees here in Scotland. It sounds lovely. Seriously, bring it on. Wayne says, thanks for the interesting video. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Wayne. When is my next stream? Good question, Corey. I am live every single Friday at 1 o'clock Arizona time. Currently, that's 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Every single Friday, you can count on that. I think I'm going to start a members only Mondays, and that'll be for members only. Those videos will never be made public. We get maybe 24 viewers, so it's real quiet, not chaotic. Everybody has an opportunity to interact with me. You don't get lost in the chaos in the crowd. And I think I'm going to start doing members only Mondays you'll have to let me know. You members will have to let me know what you think of that idea for videos that will only be members only. They will never be public videos. So we can discuss things that we don't discuss normally, and we can interact in a way that gives each viewer more attention if wanted to talk to me. So that's what I'm considering. Mondays at 1 o'clock, Fridays at 1 o'clock. Mondays would be members only video content and interaction, and then Fridays would be the general content that's always there. I just want to make sure I'm giving a little extra to the members who are giving a little extra to me. I'm still trying to come up with ways to encourage the membership and reward membership. And at the same time, I don't want to alienate people. I don't want people that are members feeling like they're not getting anything more than they were getting before. And at the same time, I don't want to just make videos for members. I don't want this to become a paid-only channel. So I'm trying to find that balance. Your feedback is always appreciated. And I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Yeah, I think members only Mondays is something I need to start doing for my members. I really appreciate the people. It's a very small percentage of people that are members compared to the number of subscribers. It's a fraction of 1%. So it gets to be a much more personal, a much more intimate experience. It's not this big platform. It suddenly becomes a much smaller platform. It's not as chaotic. And I'm not trying to divide my attention amongst, hundreds of chat room participants. We get a dozen chat room participants, maybe. So I really like that because it's more personal. But I don't want to do that all the time, but I also, I don't want the pendulum to swing all the way to one side or the other. I'm trying to find a balance. And so again, your feedback's welcome on that, of course. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks everybody for the contributions. I didn't see our good friend Peter Laycock in there today. I'm sure he'll watch later. Always thinking about you, Peter. Still got to get the Train PC done, but I want to wait till after the holidays before I ship it. Our friend Andre had ordered a computer. Again, we're getting into those really long shipping times, really long lines at the FedEx office. The guy can get anything shipped, and then the opportunity for damage. So I really want to wait till after the first of the year before I do that, preferably after the first week of the new year, because they're still going to be catching up. Things can return to normal. Thanks to Camera Girl for the close-ups today. Wonderful job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks, of course, to the folks at Beelink for sending these units for me to share the experience with you so you know what to expect. I think $800 is a very reasonable price point for this much computer. Again, as a home theater PC, way overkill. You don't have to spend that kind of money. But if you're looking for a computer you can game on, or you can do video editing on, or you want to hook up to 4 monitors up to it for, like, I don't know, day trading on Wall Street, it's a great little solution right here for that. It's got ample memory, ample storage for that kind of use. If you're looking for the HT PC, you could certainly buy something much cheaper. Also from Beelink, you can go to beelink.com and look through their product offerings. I think they're all offered at Amazon for sale if you want that peace of mind of dealing with Amazon. For that peace of mind of who you're giving your money to and return policies. I certainly, you can buy from Beelink directly if you want. I have 2 more mini PCs from other manufacturers to evaluate. I think I'll do one tomorrow, and then I'll probably do one maybe Tuesday. So I'm really enjoying this, taking me away from the PC builds. I was really getting burned down on that. And then I'm also looking to interview some more people. If there's anybody that you would like me to interview, please let me know, leaving a comment below the video. And let me know who you'd like to see come on the show. And I can reach out to them and see if they're interested. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I'll see you all tomorrow, 1 o'clock Arizona time, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's all the same time. As I am each and every Friday, you will always know that I'm live every single Friday at 1 o'clock Arizona time, as it's been now for about 2 years. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, bye for now.